listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talk podcast show. Mark and Ken.
What's up?
On episode 217 of the Shite Talk podcast show.
Was there a little bit of a pause there, Mark?
I think there was enough of a pause. I think we did it nicely, the intro. I think we were smooth this time.
We're always smooth sometimes.
Yeah, if you're a new listener, this is how professional we are all the time.
Yeah. Our shit works all the time sometimes.
Yeah, and if you're a consistent listener, well, thank you very much. But you know we're lying. You know we're lying. Anyway, what stories do you have for us today?
So I have one story and one idiot.
All right, grand.
So the story that I've got is about what they're doing in Vienna to encourage people to get COVID vaccinations, because the COVID uptake in what fucking country is Vienna in?
Italy. No, that's Venice.
Austria. The COVID uptake in Austria is very, very shit.
Yeah.
They have a new plan to get people to encourage people to take the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, like Poland's went back into lockdown there like last week or the week before last over like shit uptake of the vaccine.
Oh, you mean it's not all considered bullshit in COVID or in Poland?
Well, the people in power probably want them to take it, like, you know, like, but in terms of Eastern Europe, they have.
I've been led to believe that COVID doesn't exist in Poland.
Yeah, you think that until you go to Poland and you realize, oh, they're all restricted now. Like, it isn't all Eastern Europe, because like Hungary accepted all the vaccines. They accepted the Chinese one. They accepted like the Russian. Like, if you had a vaccine, it was buying off you. And they were like one of the first to like bring in the whole, if you're not in a restaurant, you can't eat in this restaurant unless you're vaccinated and all this. Like, I think they got a good uptake. I think they were like, hit the 60% way before we did. I don't know what they're at now.
And probably a lot higher.
I don't know. I think it did bottom out. I don't think I think there still was resistance to it. And like then a lot of vaccines that people got, because what they did was you're allowed to choose your vaccine in Hungary. So people are able to do their own research and make up their mind, all right, this one's for me. It didn't count on people making dumb choices. That's the only thing, because some people picked the Russian one, which is not recognised by the rest of Europe. And they picked it at the time when they didn't know if it would be recognised by Europe, or that they just thought, oh, if I'm vaccinated, I can travel. And they're vaccinated, but only is recognised by like basically Hungary, Russia, and whoever recognised the Sputnik as a vaccine. And then everywhere else here is basically unvaccinated. So it's crazy. It's like in terms of that as well.
Yeah, it's mad. That's the story that I've got anyway.
Yeah. So what's we'll talk about it later on, I guess. What's your idiot of the week?
My idiot of the week is Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. Oh, is this around the whole crushing thing?
Yeah.
All right, because I did have this in my notes about something we talked about. I just presumed you will know the details on this, so I was like, Ken will talk about this. So I had in my notes that let's talk about festival crushing, and we'll talk about like passing out, because there's been a lot of stories about incidents of people fainting. So yeah, I was going to talk about this anyway. So yeah. Is it like, because I didn't really read anything about it. I didn't think, looking on the outside, that Travis Scott was to really blame to this. Why has he made it to our idiots of the week anyway? Just without going too much into
it. For his reaction to it.
Oh, okay, for his reaction, you're saying he's an idiot.
His reaction to it, like at the time while it was unfolding in front of him, he's an idiot.
All right. Grand. And we'll be talking about that at our idiots a week. So what I got for us is Portugal has made it illegal for your bosses to contact you outside work hours. So, like, I don't know what your kind of view is on this.
Have we done that already?
Talked about it?
No, Ireland have already done that.
What your view of this is? Because like I'm one where I'm not on my work's WhatsApp group, because I don't want to be. If I'm outside work, don't contact me. I don't get a notification about work. I'm fully behind this thing. When you're off, you're off. When you're in, you're in. But I also could understand where like you need to contact someone and it is important, or so you might think of and you'd be like, oh, I really need to say to that person, and then like even if you said like you don't have to look at this now, but yeah, like I don't know if I go to the point where it's illegal, to the point where you're actually punishing, but I don't have any other great means of trying to enforce it unless it's made into law.
The problem with it was that people are getting punished for not responding to work-related things when they're not working.
Yeah,
that's where the whole making it that you can't do anything. Like, it's your own choice. It's like if you don't want to be contacted when you're not working, then that's fine. But previously, employers would punish you for that.
Yeah, which I remember watching. Oh, what was that show called? Where it was bought up by a lot of different places, but basically, Ireland's version of it was your man who ran Renault. And he was like, it's basically he has all these people who want to come work for him, and basically every week they're put to tasks, and it's like just some business related tasks, and he like critiques them on their handling of like an assignment, and then each week he fires a person.
The Apprentice.
Yeah, The Apprentice. So I remember Bill Gates was not Bill Gates. What was the Irish guy? Bill Gates did not do the Irish one.
I have no idea.
Yeah, because I can't think of who he is. I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, whatever the Irish guy was, he was like,
We'll go with Bill Gates.
Yeah, we'll go with Bill Gates. he was like, I don't care what you do inside work. All I'm interested is what you do outside work. I expect you to work when you're in the hours. It's what you do after work. I was like, I'd hate to work for that person in that case, and you'd never be off. I just remember even thinking back then, I'd be like, he seems an awful person to work for. That seems like an awful career.
Like, I've actually had this discussion / row this week already.
Oh yeah, really?
I was on holidays last week, and every single day I was contacted about work, and I was like that's not a holiday. Like, fuck off away from me. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, that's literally the reason why. In the terms of, and I faced so much criticism when I left the work group. It was like they literally just set it up, and the first thing notification people got was Mark has left the work group. And the lads be like, "Why did you leave it?" And I was like, "I don't want to be notified when I'm working." They're like, "Oh, you can mute it, but you still, anytime you click onto your WhatsApp, it's there. It's always there, and especially if it's active, it's always one of the top messages in it. It's not like it drops down and you have to go find it. It's in your face. So anytime you go into message your friends or anybody like that, you can see work. And it's just something that like I don't want to look at. Like when I'm in, like when you have like a situation where they have your email address, they have your phone number, they can message you like, and there's work. And there's work phone, so you can send messages to the work phone that when you go on to fill out your paperwork or whatever, there's a message there which could be directed at you. Like, they've so many means. I just said, like, you have so many ways to contact me where I can deal with this, either if it's directed towards me, where it's not where it's not directly related to me, but like when people are trying to be funny on WhatsApp groups or fucking messing something go missing. So like you look at your phone, you see work, and then especially when you're on holidays, that would piss me off so much.
Yeah, I was told it's so that important information can be passed between us. And I was like, if you have something to tell me and I'm not working, tell me when I come in the next day. I don't give a fuck about it when I'm not working.
Yeah, you're on an airfield by the sense of it.
Yeah, there's some fucking dickhead in a plane flying over my house.
Alright. There's like a place where you go parachuting in Offaly. You must live near that.
Yeah, I think it's not too far away.
Yeah, so it's probably just people jumping out of a plane and you ran to come back in the land or something like that. Yeah, but like, where do you sit on the whole, like, because you have to manage people, so you are at a place where, like, you do need to be in contact, be able to get in contact with people. Is there ever a time where you're like, I really need to say to this person now, and if I leave it until tomorrow, I probably will forget about it. I wonder if I can just send them an email or a message, and like then I know at least I sent it to them. Or would you be like, if I forget it, like I forget it?
My way of dealing with that is simple, right? And it's you write it down and you leave a note.
Yeah, and on your phone or on a piece of paper. Do you have a little pad?
On an actual piece of paper, and you leave it where that person's going to see it.
Yeah, and then yeah, because like they do kind of in the Portugal, and I think most places they said it affects people, staff who has more than 10 people, which I think that's most companies, and they're kind of aiming it more towards office places where you're working from a laptop. They've also made it illegal to track people while they're working remotely. So during the pandemic, a lot of people were working from home, and the way companies would track it would be like, you could, if you move your mouse, you have to move your mouse every few minutes, make sure that you're still working, or you have to like respond to you have to kind of give progress reports to your manager, your team leader, every hour or so to see how far you've got on and what tasks you've done. And they've banned that as well, which I can kind of understand companies want to track productivity though. Like I'd be on the side where if I was working remotely, I'd fully understand why they want to know why I haven't got that report sent off, or I've only like answered certain amount of calls or whatever. Like even if the numbers are generally low because it was a quiet day or because there was some sort of problem, like you should be willing to be accountable for your productivity regardless.
Yeah, remote working is like a grey area.
That's what I mean. And I know people who worked from home during the pandemic, and they genuinely did take the piss. Like they said themselves. Like they said, I didn't really like unless I had to answer something, I didn't answer it. And like in terms of responding to customers or other stuff like that, they basically took it as they were sitting on their couch playing like PlayStation or Xbox, or they were at their laptop and they were like fidgeting to make it look like they're active, but they just didn't bother to work. And then I have other friends who said they were more productive, they got more shit done, and they don't want to go back to work because they get distracted in work. So like, I think once you're able to like accomplish whatever your goal is and whatever target you are set by your employer, unless that drops, I think they shouldn't have a problem. But I still think they should be able to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like we live in a society where if you're a guard, we're going to strap a camera to your chest, make sure you do your job right. So like in the public sector, we do it. We expect to be like have our politicians be accountable, have everybody be accountable. Why in the private sector would bosses then not want their employees to be accountable?
Yeah, it's a whole different.
It's something that like I think me and you wouldn't have a whole lot of experience because like we both can't work from home. We both have to be physically on site in order to work. So like it's something that we probably don't know a whole lot about, and I'm pretty sure if I could get two people who had worked from home with completely different views, or be able to tell us this is why that's done.
Like whatever about tracking productivity, I don't think you should actually be able to track like what people like where people are.
Oh yeah, I don't like in terms of like if you're down in West Clare or if you're in like your apartment in Dublin. I not in terms of track that, but in terms of productivity, like tracking. Yeah, because I know Google kind of put a statement saying that they're going to encourage remote working, but if you live, let's say, somewhere where it's cheaper rent or cheaper cost of living, and you're working from that center, you're going to be paid less based off where you're living. So if you're in a really expensive area where the cost of living is higher, you're going to be paid your regular wage. However, if you move down the country to like take advantage of cheaper rents or just be more in the country and cost of living is lower, they're going to pay you less. But see, I think it's a bit fucked.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, they say they do it anyway. Like their wage is always based off affordability or living expenses in the area, and that they're like in different countries they'd have different wages for their employees based off the cost of living in the area, and that shouldn't be any different if someone lives in like down the west or in Dublin, because they're two different living expenses. And I think that's a bit fucked. That's a way of them like obviously making it more affordable and maybe encouraging people to, or only hiring people in real cheap areas.
Yeah, that's just them trying to be cheap arses.
Yeah, realistically, like at the end of the day, like you have these billion-dollar companies. They always want to win in any scenario. They're not going to ever have a point where their employees get a better deal while they're getting secretly screwed, and they're going to be happy with it. But yeah, I fancy myself being able to work from home. I imagine I get very lazy. I think I'd need to leave the house fairly quickly. I kind of, the whole kind of like lockdown did kind of actually bring about like even doing like workouts. I kind of felt like I had to designate a room for doing a home workout, because I'd end up associating like my bedroom with working out, or I end up feel like I'm in a prison if I like did everything in one room. Like it's weird. Like, so imagine like if you were used to being in an office and getting into the mindset of like doing office work, you'd kind of have to nearly designate a room in your house as my office, and to work from that place and only work from that place. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you would. Like, if I could work from home, I'd work from home. No problem.
Yeah. Because I know a person before pandemic who always worked from home, because he'd be working kind of customer care kind of role, where if someone had a problem, he'd kind of talk them through it, or he'd just be either on like a headset or a messaging app and just kind of message them through it, and kind of that's basically it. And he always said like they track, like make sure that you've moved the mouse every X amount of times or whatever, or they might send you like an email and you have to respond within whatever time. But he has like a time where he has to be working from. It isn't like he has like a clock in, clock out system. Imagine if you have kids and like if you're meant to be in work for 9 o'clock and you're trying to cut down on, let's say, like sending your kids to a crash or whatever. That can be when you're meant to be in work, but you're also then having to make your kids lunch and stuff like that. Imagine that comes to a grey area where, in terms of, oh, okay, so I have to take time out of my day to feed my kids and do all that, so I have to work later. And then I think when your work day ends and when your work day begins, and when your employer can pay you and not pay you, also comes kind of grey, and that probably needs to be worked out.
I think if you're working from home, that stuff becomes easier.
Really?
Yeah, like if you're working from home, like then minding your kids is easier.
Yeah, like I imagine like if you were in work for before your kids go to school, then you probably have a system where your kids can get to school. Like you probably have a bus they go to or something like that, and you could just keep those mechanisms of how your kids got to school beforehand. And you might want to cut down on if they went to a crash or something, like a care facility while you're in work. So you might have to take a bit of time out of your day to collect your kids, or for them to get the bus back.
Yeah, like, well, I don't think that's too big. That's probably not too big of a problem.
Yeah. Another thing,
if you're working from home, you can probably set your own lunchtime.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, exactly. You can set when you take your break, and I think most office places you can set when you take your break. There isn't like 1 o'clock everybody goes. I just think generally people get hungry around that time and go between 11 to 1 o'clock, and they all end up going, "Oh, you're going for your lunch? I'll go with you." And then so take it at the same time. Yeah.
You can tell that we don't work in an office, Mark.
I know. It's just like what we imagine an office place of is two people who've never worked in an office. I imagine people are rolling their eyes who currently are working in an office, listening to us. Do you know what? Someone I was going to tell you about. I seen this video online, and we always hear about shark attacks and how dangerous sharks are. Now you're an avid advocate for sharks don't kill people, idiots kill themselves, kind of thing. Like sharks, you have to go out of your way for a shark to attack you. This isn't a shark attack thing. He was on one of the Gracies, from like Gracie Breakdown. Henner.
Yeah.
He was interviewing him, and he was like, "How jiu-jitsu saved my life." Had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, by the way. I was a SEAL as well. So they're in South Africa, and they treated them where I can spear hunting, and they have like this. It's called I think it's called like a shark shield. It's like on your foot, and it's an electrical thing, and creates kinetic electricity that sharks do not want to enter, so they're kind of put off from attacking you. It's kind of gives you a kind of protective if you're in an area where sharks are. So people use this for like hunting, and he was diving down. He didn't have any like breathing apparatus. When he's diving down, he dives down. He has I imagine he has goggles on, and he tries to spear hunt whatever he's hunting. And he was in the water, and he felt this bite, and he looked and tugging on it, and it was a seal biting his fucking shark shield thing, and he got a zap from it. So he went up to the water. He kind of kicked it, and it tried it was biting him. It was trying to tear off his fin. He went up to his friends up from the water, and he's like, "I've been attacked." And the seal followed him up, and he was continuing trying to bite his shark shield thing off him, pull it off him. Afterwards, the people who were experts were kind of saying, like, "Oh, what was probably happening was like you're in his territory, and he was basically telling you to fuck off, get out of my area." But then the seal thought him zapping him was him fighting back, and he was actually attacking him every time the seal bit him, and his shield thing zapped him. The seal was taking that as like, "Oh, your man's standing his ground. He's like, he won't leave my territory." So the seal went into full kill mode then, and it was like fucking. It's an incredible story. Like I am going to share it. I'll share it to like our social medias. But like your man, the seal ended up pulling off his shark shield, and then your man said he has this like gun spear that shoots out, and he said the seal moved so fast that I didn't have time to aim it and shoot it. Like it moved incredibly in the water, and it was like constantly pulling him out deeper into the sea and pulling him down, basically trying to drown him. And every opportunity he tried to, every weapon he had, basically the seal would pull that off him. Like really, really intelligent. It would pulled off the shark shield. Then he had the gun. It pulled the gun away from him. And he said he took his knife out and it bit his hand so that he dropped the knife, and it basically disarmed him. And then constantly was like tiring him out, constantly pulling him in, forcing your man to swim back up and pulling him deeper in the water, just making him like more and more tired. I think he ended up getting to like a rock, and then the seal jumped up after him and like was constantly trying to pull him off the rock back into the sea. A wave knocked the seal off, but he was able to hold on, and it was kind of goating him in, come back into the water because he wanted to finish what he started. Like the seal was like, "Fuck you, you're dead now," kind of a thing. It was a crazy ass fucking story. I was like, I need to hear more of this story. I need all the details, because it was like a 10-minute interview, but it was a fucking crazy story. It also shows you like how intelligent these fucking seals are. Like these predators, it knew to disarm them. That's the crazy thing about it. It knew oh, that's a weapon, I'm taking that away from him. Or if I bite his hand, he'll drop the knife and then it's gone. He won't be able to get it back. And it took off his fins to make it harder for him to swim. So he knew the fins, first of all, could be removed. Second of all, if they are removed, that fucking thing can't swim that fast.
I probably didn't know that they could be removed. It's probably just a natural instinct that when it's fighting something, attack the fins.
Yeah, maybe. But like, it was the way it attacked it and pulled the gun off it and bit his hand so he dropped the knife. Like, I just thought that part was so like interesting. It was such a like even though it was a very short conversation, had nothing like he was saying how he was punching. It was just doing nothing to him. Like he punched as hard as the seal wasn't reacting because it was like 300-pound animal versus like I think he said he was like 75 kilos like or whatever his weight was. Like, but like he was a third of the weight of the seal. Imagine a child punching it and you'd be like, that's cute. Like at most he was like, no, I could feel that one. Like, but yeah, it was just so crazy how the seal went about like just tiring him out, constantly pulling him, and it wasn't like I could just go for your neck and kill you, but this is such a more shittier way to die, kind of thing. I'm gonna fuck with you before I kill you, because I wouldn't say she said his friends said they seen him, the seal bit behind his neck, jumped out of the air, bit him behind his neck, and tossed him like basically flipped over him, brought him down. And then your man, he said, I can't remember it, but like I can feel where the scars are when he was talking about it. But it's just like a fucking crazy story.
So don't piss off seals.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, remember the whole, the fucking thing on Valencia Island or Walrus?
Oh, kind of.
It was in Kerry. Big teeth.
Kind of remember something about him. Yeah.
And and people were like, "Oh, Kerry got to replace a Fungi the dolphin."
Nobody will ever replace Fungi.
I know, but like, and then people are like, "Don't get too close," and like people were bringing their kids up to it. And this is a far more dangerous animal than a seal. Seal is basically looks like a dog of the sea, and it's just like how like absolutely cold-blooded killer that those fucking things could be. Like they look just like, I'm gonna pet it. Nope. Fuck you, bitch.
Well, people always do stupid. Like people always approach wild animals expecting them to be
like
tame.
Like tame and like their dog. They're like, my dog likes it when I pet him.
It's like, do you ever hear people like in Australia and they're like, like obviously it's mostly probably tourists. They're like, oh look, a koala bear, he's really cute, and a koala bear proceeds to rip your face off.
Yeah, exactly. The koala bears are absolute cunts. Rabies infested cunts. Or no, what? No, it isn't rabies. It's they do have, I think, like a sexually transmitted disease, don't they? Herpes.
Who, koalas?
Yeah, chlamydia. It's something like that. Like koala bears definitely like gave off something. Like I think it's chlamydia.
I just don't have sex with them and you'll be fine.
Like I'm going to Google, can koala bears give you chlamydia? Koala bears give you chlamydia.
According to the New York Times, the more common strain, Chlamydia pecorum, is responsible for most of the outbreak in Queensland and cannot be transmitted to humans. The second strain, C. pneumoniae, can infect humans if, say, an infected koala were to urinate on someone, though it's unlikely.
So yeah, they can give you chlamydia if they urinate on your face, basically. It's really unrare. Yeah, I knew it was chlamydia. Yeah, so koala bears can give you chlamydia as well. I'm sure if you had to pet one and they bit you, you also maybe get chlamydia.
I don't know if you'd get chlamydia or not, but you get something.
You get like a nice tetanus after if you're anyway smart about the thing. But yeah, it would be really interesting, like to know how many people like if they were ever in a situation where they thought a very unassuming animal ended up like being a fucking absolute stone cold killer, like. Where you're fighting for your life, or like this thing is going to get me.
Well, see, people are stupid.
Yeah.
So I'd say this happens a lot.
Yeah, because like foxes are another thing. Foxes look very cute. Like, oh, look at the little fox. But like a fox fully fucking hunted me and my cousins one time. Like trapped us in.
What? Do you remember a few years ago a fox came in came in somebody's fucking window and tried to kill their baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was around, like, it was in Kildare somewhere.
Jesus. I know, yeah, I remember someone in Clare, I remember seeing on Nace Ball or something like that they had a shopping robbed from them by a fox. Show how soft we are as well. But yeah, when I was younger, my cousins like live up in the Wicklow Mountains, and they have like an acre of land, and like we were out playing in there. Like they had this, it isn't a tree house, but it's basically like a little fort. Like has little wooden steps up it, and it was circling around the fort, and like it was just looking at us, and I kind of could see that one or two of us were kind of nervous to come down. It was being very cautious about like not going too close, but like we had to like call for help to get down for there because we thought we were going to get attacked by a fox. Like it was seriously stalking the thing. It was going like it would not leave and was just looking us in the eyes. And just trying to go closer and closer. We were trying to like fuck bucks at it and all to go away. It was like, yep, throw all your weapons because eventually you'll have none.
I was stalked by a cheetah.
A cheetah? Oh my god, yeah. That's much better fucking thing to be stalked by. Me, little bitch ass fox stalks me.
Like it was, it was behind the fence. Like it was in a photo wildlife park.
Yeah.
Like it was in there, like we were just walking along, whatever. It was. Remember when at the start of the pandemic, like Kildare and Offaly and Meath went into lockdown, and then Offaly were like, "Oh, it's okay, you can come out of lockdown now."
Yeah.
We fucked off to Cork for like a few days and went to Photo Island, and we're just walking around, and we're walking just in the middle of like a forest, like this big fence and stuff. There's no animals around. And next thing is like, hang on, there's a fucking cheetah over there, like slowly moving along the fucking bushes, like watching me.
Oh, really? It was like, oh, your food. I haven't eaten.
And yeah, and then like I kind of stopped and I was like looking at the fucking thing, and then it just charged and like jumped at the fence, and I was like, there's a fence here.
Yeah, I remember being in Dublin Zoo, and there's a lion in a plastic box, perspex box. I couldn't actually get out or attack anybody.
Yeah.
But you know how they go up by the glass and they follow you around? So someone put their child sitting on at the thing, and as they went to take a photo, the lion like opened its mouth as if it was trying to bite the thing. It would have been the coolest photo ever, because it would have had basically the lion's mouth open, like the side right at the kid's head, like as it lunged for it, like thinking it could get through the perspex or whatever. And it would have been the coolest fucking photo ever. I was like, that must have been a savage photo to have of your trip to but like going back to that Kildare lockdown, we went to surfing. I was like, we just booked it, and was like, I think the Kildare one was extended.
Yeah. So
like we thought we didn't cancel it because we thought we'd be out, and then they're like, nope, you stay back where you are. So we ended up going, fuck it, we're going to Clare anyway. No one will notice. I didn't think like anybody would say anything to us. So, and I was literally, we just unpacked and came back out, and one of the neighbours, because we were saying like an Airbnb, came out and they're like, "You're not coming from Kildare, are you?" And we're like, thank God, though, like one of my friends with me who's like a little bit more chill. Me and the girl that was with us at the time would have been like, He's like, "Oh no, we're coming for Racool." And he's like, "Oh, all right then." We're like, quickly grab boxes, we go back inside. It was like, because we on the way up, we were kind of panicking. It was like, what if someone says to us like, "Oh, he's coming from Kildare," and it's like, no one's going to notice that. And it's like, we're in a KE Reg car that's fairly new. Like, it might be a question. Like, we're one of two counties locked down right now. And he's like, "Nah, you're grand, you're fine. No one will notice. You're grand. Just say you're from Dublin. Just say you're from blah, blah, blah." And it's like, fair enough. He was just so sure it wouldn't happen. We're like, no, it probably will happen. People know the accent. He's like, "Claire doesn't have an accent." I don't think I have a real Kildare accent. I think I'm slightly borders on Dublin.
I don't know.
Do you don't know? Some people say I do have Kildare accents. Other people say no.
Like, you definitely don't have a Dublin accent.
Yeah, I think like in terms, I don't really have a strong either or. I think it's just a kind of flat accent I have. Like you wouldn't be able to place it, kind of thing.
I can't imagine if you had a fucking big dirty Dublin accent.
There's different levels to Dublin accents. Like you have really strong accents in certain areas of Dublin. Like Dublin has like 5 or 6 accents, but then
And
there's
they're all fucking atrocious.
but then there's like but then there just flat Dublin accents as well. Like I wouldn't say it like necessarily. Like I said, I think it border on a Dublin accent rather than a Kildare accent. Kildare accent, it's very like subtle, but when you hear a person with a thick Kildare accent, you're like, Jesus. How Darcy being or what do you call it? Christy Moore.
Christy Moore.
Christy Moore.
Christy Moore. Christy Moore, the whore on tour.
There's a few people in our new gym who have strong Kildare accents.
Do they?
Yeah. There's a few of them that like would have a strong Kildare accent. Yeah. Not that it's a bad thing. They're from Kildare. Kind of expect it. Like if they didn't have it, does it exist?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, does it exist?
Yeah. Another thing that I was going to talk about was Mike Tyson, Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Get your 2 cents on it.
I hope Mike Tyson kills him.
Logan Paul was just talking about if the fight goes ahead, that he like respects Mike Tyson so much, and that he doesn't have really anything to lose, or like he's not going to be able to build up too much beef against Mike Tyson because he respects him so much.
There's been like controversy thrown on the fights the Paul brothers have been having. Have you seen this?
No, not really.
Apparently, their opponents to be given no knockout clauses.
Oh, really?
Like your contract contains a no knockout clause. You're not allowed to knock out Jake or Logan Paul.
I went for dinner with one of my friends, and he was saying something like this to me. But then again, he is a bit on the whole conspiracy theory thing. And when he gets in his head, he doesn't like either somebody or something. He gets like everything against him is true, and everything pro him is a lie and made up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's saying something like that there's money under a table, and there's like a no knockout clause, and the referee is kind of in the pocket of Logan Paul as well, and everything. He was talking about, I think, Ben Askren, saying that Ben Askren wasn't even hurt, and the referee called off the fight after the second round or something like that.
I don't know about the rest of it, but that's like I can't even remember who it was said it.
Yeah.
There was some like famous boxer said it, like that Logan Paul and Jake Paul, their opponents are given a contract that has a no knockout clause. Like you won't get paid if you knock them out.
Yeah, because like Logan Paul, he fought Floyd Mayweather. That was an exhibition match, and then his only actual fight was against the other KSI. The YouTuber, is it KSI or is KSI an actual boxer?
No, KSI is a fucking YouTuber.
Yeah, so it was against your man KSI, and KSI actually bet him in that match. So his official record is 0-1. So he hasn't actually won a professional fight. So his next act fight is going to be against Mike Tyson, who's, I think Mike Tyson has fought 48 times and has won, I think, 44 of them. And then I think 40 of them are by knockout. So there's also a whole thing of why you wouldn't want to piss off Mike Tyson as well. Why getting him motivated to knock you clean out. Now, I don't know. Mike Tyson has publicly like lost a lot of money and has like pretty much said the reason why he does these fights are because they're so lucrative to him. So I could imagine him signing up for a kind of like exhibition match where he kind of doesn't go for a knockout. But according to Logan Paul, like this fight would be a legit fight and there wouldn't be the same kind of clause where there'd be no knockout clause in it. Now this could be smoke and then what it is, in order to get like Mike Tyson an actual boxing license to sanction this fight, it might have to be an exhibition, and there might have to be kind of no knockout clauses put on this and stuff like shit like this.
Yeah, like, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, like, be honest with you, these are scams, but the only reason these work is because people buy into them. So, like, people...
For reality TV.
Yeah, but people like... My friend was getting super pissed off about it because it wasn't actual boxing fans buying these pay-per-view. It's like all kids who are fans of Logan Paul and Jake Paul are buying these subscriptions. That's why they're making so much money. Where people on the undercards are people who are pulling their like selves up by the bootstrings and coming up maybe the right way. And I was trying to say to them, like, look, they haven't really fought anybody that like you're like, oh, that's a crazy matchup, other than Floyd Mayweather, and that was an exhibition match. And they're kind of building themselves up and up and up. They're fighting like an NBA player, and they're fighting fucking like former fucking MMA fighters. One of them who was known for not being a striker was just being a wrestler, so he has shit striking. And they're kind of just every single other fight, they're just upping the intensity level, but they're still making like pay-per-view money. So they're not going to like necessarily a stupid way of doing a boxing career by like they are going up against guys that can challenge them. But like the whole kind of thing about not being knockouts, we're not sure if that is the case. I'm pretty sure Tyron Woodley wouldn't sign up for something like that.
Apparently, that's one of the things that they're saying that he did. Like, it was included in his contract.
It seems like because he got a tattoo for a rematch, and then Jake Paul or Logan Paul was like, no. So like it seemed like he was pissed off by the whole thing. Like the fact that he actually got a tattoo and was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, a lot of people do a lot of things for money.
Yeah, like, look, he got well paid for it. He was able to make a lot more than he was being an MMA fighter. I don't know what he's doing right now. I imagine if he can get similar money doing boxing, he'll stick at that. And there's a market for, like, people want to see Mike Tyson fight again. People want to see these celebrity matchups. Like, there is obviously a marketplace for it. So I say, like, let them fight. If people want to watch it and they want to do it, let them fight. It's like my thing. It's really sad when it is a guy who needs money. That's where I'm like, oh my God, this is very tragic. Well, like, what other means of make money do they have other than getting a 9 to 5?
I think it's sad when it's like a guy who has been like doing this for years is on the undercard of what's a fucking amateur fight.
Yeah, like, I can understand people being like, your man has learned to strike, but the rub is that if you are on the undercard, let's say if you're a guy coming up, even if you have a much better record or like, you're still getting noticed. So you're going to have people who are gamers getting into boxing because they're watching.
But you're gonna have promoters that are going to go, you're getting noticed. They're going to put you onto a card, but you're never going to be the main event because we're just going to get whoever the fucking next YouTube guy is to fight some other YouTube guy, and that's just going to be the way the business goes now.
Yeah, but like, if you can build up fan bases, like if you are on an undercard of these fights and you come off as an exciting fighter, then you can kind of pivot to be your own. Like, people who watch fighting go, oh, that guy, whoever, he's always in an interesting fight. He's fighting on the undercard of Tyson Fury fight. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna see how he does on that as well, and he can kind of build up a fan base that way as well. Like, UFC does it with CM Punk. There's like every single fighter on the undercard of CM Punk match was far better, like infinitely better at mixed martial arts than CM Punk was on both occasions that he fought. But MMA fighters wanted to be on that card because it's brand exposure at the end of the day.
It's just it's all very strange.
It's blood money. Like, it's very like it isn't only to do with skill and ability. It's always to do with marketing as well. And you see that in all fight sports, like that. Like it is a dirty part of the game. It's how you promote yourself as well as if you have the skills to back it up. Like eventually you will have to have the skills. You have to be a likable or unlikable character in order to get noticed. I always use the analogy of Joe Duffy, Conor McGregor. Both of them incredibly skilled fighters. Like barely anybody knows who Joe Duffy is. And he didn't, like other than Conor's success at featherweight, didn't like in terms of who they lost to, in terms of like fighters. Joe Duffy maybe was a little bit worse than Conor McGregor, but like I think he's more well rounded of a fighter than Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I like Joe Duffy.
Yeah, but like never got noticed. Got a bit of rub when he first came in because he had beaten Conor McGregor when people thought Conor McGregor was unbeatable prior to this. Never was able to get going. Had a few really good wins. Then as soon as he faced anyone in the top 10, wasn't able to really hold his own. Got destroyed by, I think, Dustin Poirier. Destroyed him. It was just like, was kind of the warning shot that Dustin Poirier is like on the rise. Like it's like how badly he bet Joe Duffy, and that fight ended in Joe Duffy having him in a triangle. Like he lost it and it was brutal, but like Joe Duffy was in that fight for those 3 rounds. It's unfortunate. Another thing that I was going to talk about before we get on to our idiots of the week. This probably could be our idiots of the week. We could throw this person in. So we'll do the idiots week intro.
Go on.
So this is part of the show created for idiots by idiots, and it's basically where we talk about people doing really dumb things. And I'll start off with the idiot that I have, because we know we're going to get onto your very juicy festival idiot. Yeah. Have we talked about your other thing?
Not yet.
All right, so we'll leave idiots week for now, and we'll go into your ignore.
You could just do idiots and then do it after.
Fine, I guess while we're here.
You've already done the intro.
Yeah, that is true. It's not like this is a pre-recorded show. So just remind me to do your non-idiot story after this. The idiot I have is a teacher in the USA who was sprouting about conspiracy theories to their kid and has been fired from school for so. Now, what
were the conspiracy theories?
That Donald Trump is still president, that vaccines don't work, and about some political figure being a paedophile. And there was a few other ones thrown in there. So she was teaching, and first of all, check your biases if you thought that was man. #feminism, #girls can be conspiracy theorists. She was teaching a load of 8th graders. 8th graders would be second year students, would it be? Or 8th graders still in primary school over here.
Are they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
it is. Because I was listening to a parent, and they were like, I told my kid if they hear anything like that makes them feel uncomfortable, record it on their phone and let me know.
So they're like, so an 8th grader is like 13 or 14.
Oh, 13. So first year to second year.
First year or second year, yeah.
Yeah, first year or second year of school in Ireland. Her kid basically recorded a conversation. It was basically just her spouting off about the government, saying that like in terms of the vaccine being fake, and then one of the political people being a paedophile or having this, and the kid basically came home and said like, I don't want to ever be vaccinated, blah, 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 and why, how is Donald Trump still the president, blah, 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 and all this other shit. So I ended up getting fired. Now, this seems crazy, like, people are like, oh my God, well, she definitely deserves to be fired. But I kind of feel like everybody has a teacher in their school like this. And like, it's not until I thought about it, I was like, yeah, like, I knew loads of teachers like this when I was going to school. Like,
what, they were just like mental?
Yeah, that would sprout conspiracy theories to us. Like,
Okay, I don't know if everybody had a teacher like that.
oh well, I had several. Like, like, do you know have a teacher maybe or a substitute that would talk about conspiracy or talk about like political matters with you and give their slant on it?
Outside of CSPE, no.
Oh God! Well, I'm it's different, but like you know the whole 9/11 thing. I legitimately got up in front of us because a teacher was talking to us about it. Got up in front of a classroom with 4 other people and debunked why 9/11 was an inside job. I like she let us take time out of her own class. She basically took 2 classes basically time away from this because she got us to come into class and basically prove how the debunk was worked. Now I think what we were talking about in class, and one of the lads convinced her, and then she's like, "Oh, the truth must be out there." Like we were talking about the whole thing, and we ended up getting in a conversation about it. And one of the guys was super into the whole 9/11 and pretty much convinced the room of us that like it was an inside job. And so we basically pretended to be the US government in a press conference, or else I don't really remember too much. I don't know if we were like they were just basically ask questions about it, and we give the reasons behind or how we go about covering it up, or like how the mechanisms was used to cover it up. I can't really remember, but he basically talked and we basically just listen to him. He knows what he's doing. For years after, I fully believed it was an inside job. Like I was like, I don't know what it is until I was like, maybe it's not. I got obsessed about the whole thing. I would watch every 9/11 thing that was on TV. All the conspiracy documentaries that are done about it, I did watch the hell out of them. It was just basically from that class. And then another one, he wasn't really a conspiracy theory, but our geography teacher would go on about how the war in Iraq is basically to take oil. I guess it's a conspiracy theory, but it was basically
conspiracy theory. That is kind of true.
Yeah, it was basically to get oil, and he'd always segue this little anecdote into his class any way he could, and he just repeat this line like every week for anytime we were talking about geography or like in terms of different parts of the world, he just talk about and the war and the war in Iraq is really a war for oil because blah 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 has these commodities and US wants this, and he just segue in as a little anecdote to give it. There was always I always had teachers like that, and I even remember there was a teacher in primary school, but I can't remember what he said in terms of that was conspiracy theory but I remember being like, whoa, why are we talking about this?
This could be why you bought an inflatable boat in case the country flooded.
Yeah, it's all starting to come true. Like this is like the end of the year.
Yeah, what sort of fucking school did you go to?
Schools. Multiple. That's what I think. I thought everybody. I thought you were going to be like, yeah, I had a substitute that used to be like that.
Yeah, no, I don't remember anybody ever filling us with conspiracy theories.
Yeah, well, where are the conspiracy theories though? Well, the 9/11 one was definitely a conspiracy theory.
Well, the 9/11 one is 50-50.
See, yeah, exactly. There's some people who still believe it today. That was like an inside job.
I don't know if it was an inside job, but there's a lot of governments will let things slip through the net so they can justify things.
Yeah, there's a lot where I can say I don't know what happened here fully. Like I can't say it's a conspiracy. I can't say it's not a conspiracy. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a conspiracy. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. There's things that I go, I don't really know. I can see both sides of it here. Like I'm not going to get on the fence and say 9/11 inside job or 9/11 was not an inside job. Whoever believes that, it's like how people debunk the moon landing and all that stuff like that. I always lean that the moon landing probably happened, but if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be shocked.
So you just basically keep on the fence.
Stay on the fence. Just never get off that fence with anything. Some things I will go, no, they're wrong. But like, unless I have a full grasp of the topic that I'm talking about, like, I can't be sure if JFK was assassinated by the US government or the mob or blah blah blah, or a lone good man with no motives, or if he was hypnotized. I don't know really too much about it. Like, I've never really. I've watched documentaries and all, but like, other than that, I can see it from both sides. Yeah. So what's your idiot of the week?
My idiot of the week is Travis Scott.
Yeah. Okay. So this is probably one of the bigger stories of the week, of where people died at a festival after being crushed.
Yeah, because Travis Scott's an idiot.
So you're kind of criticizing on his handling of situation.
I mean, situation.
And okay, so explain to our listeners, because in case they haven't heard anything about the festival or the crushing, like, what happened.
So Travis Scott was playing at a festival. It's called Astro World. Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
Here somewhere.
I think it was Astro World, something like that. I think.
Yeah, Astro World. So he's playing at Astro World, and a surge occurs in the crowd, and people start getting pushed forward and start getting crushed. And Travis Scott rightfully stops the concert.
Yeah.
He sees an ambulance crew approaching, obviously people that are injured. Like 300 people were injured, 8 people died. He sees an ambulance crew approaching, and he stops the concert. And 30 seconds later, he just continues with the concert while the ambulance are trying to work their way through the crowd to get to the people that need help.
Instead of going off stage,
instead of just being like, "Look, we're going to stop and get out of these fuckers' way. Let them do what they need to do."
Yeah, and was it him continuing the concert impeded the? Could it, if the concert was stopped, would people have survived?
I don't know if they would have survived, but like ambulance crew would have got them quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, people. Oh, he's playing again. I'm going to start dancing again. Oh, hey, ambulance person.
He encouraged people. Like he said, he stops. There's a video of it. He stops and he's like, "Oh, there's an ambulance over there." And then 30 seconds later, he's like, "Everybody, get your middle fingers up in the air, and everybody get your middle fingers up in the air, and I want to feel this ground move or some shite." He says.
Oh, really?
And,
why is he like, "Fuck you" to ambulance people?
Because he's a fucking idiot. And then a few years ago, this is the like exact same guy who a few years ago stormed off because when he jumped into a crowd, somebody stole his shoe. So like, don't steal his shoe, but if you want to let 8 people die in the crowd, that's no problem.
Yeah, I know there's like footage of like Linkin Park's former lead singer Chester something Benton. What's his surname?
I can't even remember.
Chester, some faints in the audience, and he stops it, and it's like, number one rule: no one gets hurt. Pick him up, and he stopped the concert until the person was out. And there's like other concerts where people have fainted or people have been in trouble, and they've stopped it. There's like, the gig was just stopped until that person was brought to safety. And I think Adele then recently enough, someone fainted at her gig, and she stopped it and made sure that the person. Well, obviously, this was after the whole Travis Scott was probably fresh in her head. What happened at that gig?
I've been to concerts where they've been stopped, and it's been like, okay, everybody needs to like move around, step back. There's somebody being fucking squashed here. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah. Like, I've been at gigs. A person that I knew who was at the gig as well. She passed out, and she was brought to like a med area, and she got back in after she woken up, and she was telling me what happened. That like she basically just like she was being pushed up at the front like that, up to the guardrail, and then like she ended up passing out. She had to be pulled over the barrier by security, and then the ambulance people just took her away. Then after that, so like I can be sympathy for artists who are on stage and not notice that 1 or 2 people have passed out. Obviously, you have a giant audience, but when you see people like come through the audience or emergency services trying to get to or a situation has unfolded, you kind of have to like be like, okay, what the fuck's happening over there?
That's just fucking stupid behavior. Like,
I've
being
seen,
like, okay, keep going.
because I've seen like in concerts where people have started fights and there'll be like a circle, and then the band has stopped and saying, "Fucking kick those people out," or until like they stop the fight until that fight stopped. They're like, "No one gets hurt here. Like, you're not here to be fucking picking fights."
I seen Slayer, right, and the singer from Slayer was like, I once said, he's like, okay, right, stop. We need to set some ground rules here because I've seen some shit that I don't like. He's like, I've seen people. There's been a guy who's after falling over in the mosh pit and there's people jumping on him. You do that again and we're gone. Like, we're fucking out of here. We're fucking off because that shit's not acceptable. You know, like, so I really don't understand, like, Travis Scott being like, yeah, you know what? Let's keep going.
I used to go to like the Slayer gigs. I used to go to like heavy metal gigs. And generally there is a whole kind of like, even if you're slamming into each other and you're like, it can get quite physical. There's a whole thing of if someone goes down, as soon as you went down there, there's someone there to like pull you straight back up. And it always seems to be like the more dangerous of the gig, or not dangerous, more like hard the gig, more that's ingrained into the people. Like if you're generally at a Slayer gig or a Slipknot gig, that's more the case. People are more watchful. Rather, if you're like let's say Bullet for My Valentine, I've seen fights at Bullet for My Valentine and stuff like that.
Corey Taylor's actually an example. There's a video going around recently where he stopped the gig and fucking crowd start setting fires and stuff, and he's like, okay, here, out of here, bye.
Yeah, imagine. Well, that's just dumb, especially if it's an indoor arena. Oh, I'm just going to start a fire and just close.
No, it was outdoor.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and he's like, here, look, this isn't safe. Good luck, bye.
Yeah, get those people out of here.
So, like, I don't know. I think it's fucking stupid on the part of anybody to be like, oh, there's an ambulance crew here trying to get through. Well, let's make it harder.
Yeah, that's like the fact that he continued playing.
And there was people like, there's a guy's come out now and he said like he climbed over the railing and he was trying to like, you know, bring attention to the fact that there's like people here that passed out. There was people here that are dead, and like they were encouraged to. He was just like told, "Get the fuck out of here! Like fuck off back into the crowd." And the security team for the festival, so like they didn't tell people that were attending the festival that this had happened. The security team were banned from using the word "die" or "dead" or anything like that. To like when they were communicating over radios or communicating to each other in person in public about it. They couldn't say anything about people dying at the festival.
Oh, really?
They had code words to discuss it.
Yeah, like, obviously there's more feelings than just Travis Scott at the whole thing. I did see that he's offered to pay for all the funeral expenses of the people who died. And there's been other artists there that's like, I think there's been a fund set up for people who are injured or families who've died at the thing. And that is the kind of minimum, but like as soon as there's any sort of like ambulance crew was need to get medical attention to people, that gig should have been like called off straight away.
Yeah, it should have at least suspended it for a bit, like.
Yeah, like it should have been just like, okay, clear off, let everyone, and we'll come back out on stage. Like you have so much power, like when you're standing on that stage. Over the people who are there listening to you, you have them like whatever you said, 90% of them will do. If you said here, clear off, give the space to the ambulance crew, let them in, let them do their job, and then we'll continue after get out. But like, yeah, obviously it was a shit show for the organisers. I imagine there's going to be a big lawsuit for the festival as well.
I'd say there's going to be massive lawsuits.
Yeah. So what about your non-idiot of the week story? What was that?
Vienna in Austria.
Yeah.
COVID vaccine uptake in Austria has been really slow. Yeah. And so they have, in Vienna, they decided, you know what, we need to do something to encourage people to take the vaccine. So what they've done is, if you go and you get a COVID vaccine, you will get 30 minutes free with a lady of your choice in a brothel.
I seen this. I thought this was over in the US, and I was like, "Oh, they legalize prostitution."
It's
I seen
fucking
some of the guys. I don't know if he owns one of the brothels, but they always find the most creepiest looking guy that they can. And he's always like some 20-year-old good looking prostitute with some fucking like absolute
creature.
like heroin addict of a human being, like coming and going, yeah, I got vaccinated, now I'm gonna fuck your one. Like, it's like, oh, I don't want to go to that after him. Yeah, how often are you getting fucking tested for AIDS?
Like, yes, that's what they're doing there.
And like,
Like,
are they seeing a good response from it?
it doesn't say.
I kind of feel like if you were going to get vaccinated,
The government of Austria. So Austria has the worst uptake in Western Europe,
all right.
and the government have introduced laws where you now have to be vaccinated to go to any public place. So you have to be vaccinated to go to a restaurant, a hotel, a hair salon, events. You have to be vaccinated to go to anywhere that the public are.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Most reasonable people go, yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't read this too much before we
Yeah.
came on. But the owner of one of the venues that are doing this, one of the brothels, he said, it's win-win. He said, like, due to the pandemic, we've had a 50% decrease in clients. So, like, this is a great way to get customer numbers to rise again.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. This is great advertisements for the brothels as well. But, like, I kind of feel like it's only going to target, I don't know what the brothel usage of brothels are like in Vienna. I don't know if it's high or low, but it kind of seems like you're targeting a very niche market. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you have never been to a brothel before and you're like, oh, I've never been to a brothel before, but I'm going to go now and get vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm going to go now. It's free.
Yeah, now that's free if I get vaccinated.
Like, that's actually another thing I don't understand. While we're on vaccination, we've seen this thing where people are selling like fake COVID vaccines and fake IDs and stuff. And a fake COVID cert will cost you anywhere between €50 to €500, depending on if it comes with fake ID and how good it is and all this shit.
All right.
Right. So there's people out there paying €500 for a fake vaccination cert, or you can get a real one for free.
Yeah, I guess if you're against vaccine, but you want to go to a restaurant, like, you'll pay the €50.
But the 50, that's the thing. Like, the €50 ones, so like, they're ranging 50 to 500 depending on how good they are. So, like, I'm imagine with the amount of places that are checking ID with your COVID cert now, you're probably not going to get away with a €50 one.
Yeah, like, I went to the cinema there and I never get ID'd with it. Like, today, I went to cinema last night and I went to a place that I didn't normally, it wouldn't be my regular place where I go to cinema. And we were just asked at the door, can I see your COVID cert? You didn't scan it, didn't ask for, just said, okay, go ahead. So, like, you could literally have anybody's and they'll believe it on your phone. I always have mine on my COVID tracker. So I take it that as more legit because it's true, like a third party app. But like, even to get onto your COVID tracker app, you just basically take a photo of it and it goes on your. So it's not really more secure. It's not really even a better way. But like, I kind of like the Denmark solution to, or the German solution with ABC. So either you have a, or no, I don't think it's ABC. It's basically either you have your COVID cert, or you recently had an antigen test. And I think in Germany, you allow people to do their own antigen test. Like, I wouldn't really agree with that. I think use chemists and vaccination and test centers in order to get antigen tests, and basically they send you like an email which you can get scanned, and you have, if it's an antigen test, you have 24 hours to use it, and it's a PCR test, you have 3 days to use it. And basically, then if you're unvaccinated, you can go into restaurants with that. And with antigen tests, you have to pay for them, but with PCR tests, they're free. Like, I think if you did it like that, because then if anytime they want to go in a restaurant, they have to pay for an antigen test. People are like, fuck this, I might as well get vaccinated. But like, if they did want to go into a restaurant and are wholly against vaccination, okay, well then just make sure that you don't have COVID. Like, if people don't have COVID, they should be able to be. If proof that they don't have COVID, they should be able to go into a restaurant. Like, I could see it in a way, even if you are vaccinated, you might have to do an antigen test soon, regardless, because of, I think there's 2 days. If you're vaccinated, you're contagious for 2 days, whereas if you're unvaccinated, it's 7 days.
It's I don't know, it's all fucking mad. Like,
Well, see, we're this is a novel virus. We're all trying to figure out. Like, the governments have never dealt with pandemics. So we all have our stabilizers on. We're all trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. And realistically, until we're at the end of the pandemic, isn't it going to be until then that we're going to be like, oh, that was the best way? Like, I personally think Taiwan did it the best. But they use a lot of rapid tests. Like, they stopped exporting of rapid tests to other countries. They basically kept it all theirs. They were prepared for a pandemic because they had to deal with SARS. But like, we're not allowed to mention that Taiwan's an actual country, and no one's able to give them props. So that's like, no. Let's see what all the other countries we recognize they're doing.
Yeah, like it's I don't know. It's just a fucked up situation.
Yeah, would you get a vaccine if it meant that you get a free bottle, a free ride?
Unfortunately, I got vaccinated before this became an option.
Yeah, but like, I don't even know if I don't know if I was younger even, and at the point where I was like, even if I was hesitant, would I go?
But you see, I suppose, like, if it's, I'm assuming it must be like a legal activity in Austria. So like, assuming, like, so maybe we just think about it differently because it's not legal here.
Yeah, that is very true. But maybe there's more people who are on the fence or who are a little skeptical. But just judging by the people who aren't vaccinated in Ireland, you're either for the vaccine and you will get it, or you're thinking about getting it, or you're wholly against it, and not a free ride wouldn't change your mind. Like, going to a brothel, you'd rather pay to go to a brothel if it meant, like you said, there's people buying vaccine certs when they could just get vaccinated for free and get. So like, people are, you're not going to be able to buy certain people with vaccines. They're just they set their line in the sand and said, this is where I stand on this thing. I'm not getting vaccinated, and there's nothing that you can give me or let me do that will get me vaccinated. And that's just Ireland, and we've it's only 7% of our population that's not vaccinated. So like, you're always going to have that. You're always going to have people who you won't convince. Whereas maybe this brothel thing does work for more men who are like, oh, fuck it, I'll do it. But like, imagine if you were in a relationship or you're married and you came home and you go, hey, you got vaccinated. Where did you get vaccinated? Like, this is all over the news about fucking brothels doing free rides if you get a jab and you suddenly come home vaccinated. And like, I think it has to be your second jab, but like, then you're allowing, like, must have to wait 7 days. Like, we must have to be fully vaccinated before you get your ride, or else you're letting unvaccinated people ride your workers. Like, you could have a spike in like your workers getting sick with COVID.
That's true, actually.
And then, like, okay, I don't want to demean any brothel workers there, but generally it would be a lower education job for people who work in brothels.
But if it's illegal, I don't think it is. If it's a legal profession. All
right, because I was going to say, like, just
it's like in Amsterdam, they're unionized in Amsterdam.
Yeah, but just showing out stereotypes here, like, you're going to get a lot more lower down the spectrum jobs are going to tend to have more anti-vaxxers to higher end jobs. Like, you're going to get some in all areas of society, but you just imagine that you might be offering a free ride to a vaccinated person now, but the person who they're riding isn't vaccinated.
I'd imagine they probably are.
Yeah, well, maybe in order to work with public that you have to be vaccinated.
Like that's
in fairness, let's be honest, they shouldn't have any problem with people sticking stuff into them. It's basically their job.
But that's where the whole controversy with like healthcare workers comes in as well.
What?
Where there's countries that are starting to fire healthcare workers that are refusing vaccines.
Good.
Yeah, because
you're
when you're in college training to get into that profession, you have to have all your vaccines up to date.
Yeah, exactly. And now that there's a new vaccine, in order to work in your current job, you should have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, and then there's people saying I got unfairly dismissed, but you didn't really.
Yeah, I seen there was some woman on Lad's Bible who got fired over. And she was put up a video where she's bawling, saying that it was unfair. It's no, you're working on very vulnerable people, and this reduces the risk of you spreading COVID-19.
Plus, when Aideen was training to be a dental nurse, she was told first year they gave them a list of vaccines. So there's hepatitis. I can't remember the other ones. She had to get 3 or 4 vaccines, and they told them, they're if you have an issue getting any of these vaccines, you need to drop out of the course now.
Yeah.
Because you won't be passing if you don't have proof that you have these vaccines.
Yeah, because I think people just think, they're just doing this because of COVID, because they're forcing people to try to get COVID. And it's not that. It's all medical professionals have to be fully vaccinated with all vaccines. And that's always been the case. So why would they bring out one? First of all, we're currently in the middle of fighting, and say, oh yeah, we're going to leave it open to you to get this. No, this is probably the most important vaccine right now at this point to get, especially if you're working with vulnerable groups.
Yeah, if you are a doctor or a nurse, you need to be vaccinated. Yeah, I think a lot of people will confuse education and intelligence. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is the thing. That is true. We'll leave it there for the podcast before
Mark gets in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. More this goes over an hour, more controversial, I get. Now I want to talk about the Jews.
No.
Beep 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 beep. God, Ken's gone. Ken has left the room.
So you're saying that you used to be into conspiracy theories?
No. I know everything I'm talking about is true, so it can't be considered a conspiracy theory.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's fact.
It's conspiracy fact.
Yeah. Non-conspiracy fact. It's just fact.
It's just fact.
Anyway, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Shite Talk podcast show. Our 118th show, believe it or not.
Unless we're cancelled.
Unless the government gets us. Then, being silent. It's true, it's been silent, people.
Shut up and sit down.